Let's get some music going. There we go. That'll set the mood. Alright, so I have, if we check my, if I go into here, I'll go not back that far. So, where did I even put it? Right in here. Alright, where did I put my solution? Oh my god. This has nothing. Holy shit. It's a little interesting. Alright, so I'll just bring this back real quick. Alright, hopefully this has everything. It does not. Why? That's a bit weird. Might have to check the actual Git repository. Do I have to do recursive? Hold on. Did I close? I did not. Yeah, I did mean that. Nah, that's weird. Let me check to see if it's even on GitHub anymore. Yeah, this is working just fine from GitHub. Is it because I didn't spell it right? Like, technically I used all caps here. I doubt that did anything because it's the same amount of objects. Huh, it's weird. Alright, I'll just try a good old copy paste. This isn't going to be the entire thing. At least I hope not. Oh, maybe? No. Okay, that's nice. I'll just download it then. Then I'll just oh, I know why that's not working. It's because that wasn't like an actual hallelujah. Sorry, I just had to do it. Oh, that was the exact reason why it wasn't showing everything. Okay. Okay. So if we go into this one, we can see, technically don't even need these. So we can see where I left off. If I just build all of these, we can see that this is working. It could be resized. And we got these. Then if I hit back, does that texture 2D? It says two different textures on it. Right. So now, if we take a look at how this is set up, we got all of this in just one. And we got all of our vendors in here. And if I go into the file directory itself, we can see that we have all of our OpenGL stuff in here. So we're going to close out of this and start work on this next one, which will utilize multiple projects. So that way everything isn't just like crammed into one. And the engine will still be called Cat Engine, just because I like cats, I guess. I mean, they're alright. I got a dog for a cat. Hopper, come here. What's up, dog? What you doing? You get into stuff that you're not supposed to? Don't lick me. That's kinda gross. I don't know where your tongue's been. Oh, you can lay there. He's laying on my lap. Alright, anyways. So if we run this, it doesn't do everything that this does, but we've also got a logging system in place. So if I close this, go to my entry point, we can see them right here. So now what I will do is just go CE, short for cat engine, and we will do client error. Let's make this a fatal and throw in some text, be like, hello, and I'll just copy this, change this from a fatal to just, let's go, whoops, trace, and keep it to core. So we can see that not trace is, yeah, hold on. My brain just shut off for a second there. So trace is just like regular text, while fatal glows a bright red. And I just have this to tell me what I'm using. It doesn't really matter because I will just be using my static libraries since they're quicker and more reliably actually utilized, because I don't have to call anything from here, not even link it in here at all. So if I go into linker, we can see we're not using any additional libraries. If I go into input, we're not using any extra stuff. And it just compiles from here, and then it's automatically up to date with this. And that's exactly what I want. Alright, so source, and I've got everything just piled up in here. Whoops. You, my friend, aren't even supposed to be part of source. You're supposed to be right there, I think. I'll just keep it in there. Okay, so it's supposed to be in source. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to quickly just throw these into folders. Just call this core, and this is where I'll stick any like functions that we made will be stuck into core for like core utilities and stuff. And of course, we've got to go into here. And let's just see if this still compiles. Oh, they failed. Let's see. Source sandbox. Let's see what's going on in here. Ah, hold on. Let me build that, and it failed. Oh, I got it. Wait. Okay, this is application. So now if I build this, succeed, build this, succeed. Alright. I could just do that and it runs perfect. So I'm gonna create a new folder, event handler. Well, I'm just gonna call it events and then make the file in here called event handling. Alright. So I'll just create a new header file. Just call this event handler. And my syntax is completely gone. That's great. What are you trying to include? So why don't I have a include directory? Alright, So let me go into C, C++, additional include directories. All right, let me go ahead and update this. We'll go source slash, and I'll just do source slash cat engine. I did that the wrong direction, but that's okay. But core slash cat engine so I can access the core and the events if need be. So now I can just go core slash core.h, and there we go. So we're going to need to include strings. All right. So we are going to be taking in some event types. So we're going to go, yeah, right, enum class, and this will be event type, and we'll go none, and that will just equal 0. So now we got window close, window resize, that's an M, window focus. Alright, and that should be good for now. So now we need stuff to actually be able to utilize these. That's not how you spell mouse. Alright. Alright, so now let's go enum event category. That's Corey. Category. Alright, alright, so event category, application events, input events, keyboard events, mouse events, and mouse buttons. Mouse button events. Alright, so now alright, and we'll just make these Alright, so now we'll just go class event system, or what did I call this? Handler. Handler. Alright, so and we're also going to create another class real quick, and this is something that we'll use later on. This will just be an event dispatcher, and we'll just go So now we are going to create virtual functions so that way they don't take up any space. Virtual event type, get event type, and that'll be a const, and it'll also by default equal 0, which is, as we see up here, none. So now we're going to get the event name, if I can spell, virtual const char pointer, and we'll just call that get name, and this will also be a const and equal to false by default. I mean, false, 0 by default. Thinking of booleans now. Virtual int get category flags, and this will basically just return the event category, whatever it is, like how mouse button will return both mouse and mouse button and input. Keyboard will return keyboard and input, and it's basically how that will work. Virtual ring to string, and that'll be const, but this will actually return our get name function. Alright, so now we're going to need to take an inline boolean, and this will just check to see if it's in the category. Event category, we'll just do category. This will just return a get category. That's interesting that you go to that. Get category and category. Alright. And just so we know if it's been handled or not, we'll do protected boolean handled, and this will by default be equal to false. Alright, so now we can go over to the application and start making some functions. Alright, so in here, we'll just go ahead and throw it into our namespace. We'll go class, window, resize, event. So this will go off of our, if we go into here, this will go off of our window resize. And basically we're just going to be, let me go ahead and copy this, because what we're going to be doing is working on all of these. Some of them will not have any functionality immediately, others will. So another thing we got to do before anything is make it part of the event handler, and I need to include it. Alright, so now let's go ahead and also include string stream window resize event. So this will be an unsigned int, so that way it cannot go into the negatives, which is very important. That'll just be the width, unsigned int, and this will just be the height. And we're going to create some variables here in a sec, but this will just be width, and we'll pass in width, height, and we'll also just pass in height. Don't do that. Let's go ahead and pop up here real quick. We'll go unsigned int, alright, so now we'll just go into here. Unsigned int, and this will just be called get height, or width. If we're following the regular conventions, width is normally first, because we go by x then y. And this will just be a const, and it will also just return our width. Oh, that's my bad, because these don't need anything. Alright, there we go. So now I'm going to just duplicate this, put in the height, and instead we'll just call this height. And this will return the string string to string, and this will just be an override. And we'll just go window resize event, and start with width, go with the height. Now let's throw in a little bit more. Let's do X, maybe a space, maybe not. Then we'll throw in a Y right here. And if that doesn't look good, we might just throw it onto the end, doesn't really matter. And we want to just return Alright, and this is how a lot of these will look. So we'll just be putting in the first and second variable and then just returning it. And now we just need to Alright, so we got this. Let's go ahead. Alright, so another thing we've got to be able to do is tell it what event class and type it is. So we'll do event class type, then we'll just do window resize. And we need to be able to tell it what category it is. And this one will just be application. So let's go ahead and make these real quick. So let's just go right here, go define event class type, and this will just take a type, so static event type, get static type, and this will basically just return everything that we need to know. So I'll just go ahead and do this real quick. Whoops, forgot about that. Got to do a little slash if I want to do that. So we'll just do return event type, throw in a couple hashes, wait, type, and then in here, so we'll do a virtual event type, get event type, const override, return, and this will just return our get static type, don't know why I'm sticking them all the way out here. Honestly, they should be thrown right here. And we also want to get the name. This will just return our type. And that's all this will do. So now we also need to create one for getting the category, and that's going to be much simpler than this other one. We'll just go define event class category. So just taking a category. So we'll just go virtual int. So we're going to return one of these. Get category flags. So just basically recreating this one. And if you couldn't tell, that's what we were doing up here as well. We were getting the event type right here, the name, and now we're getting the category flags. So we do this, const override, and we'll just return category. And yeah, much simpler. And if we really want to, we can go ahead and just throw it in like that. Get rid of all this dead space. Alright. So now we can go ahead and come back into our application events. Let's make sure we save this. Event class type not found. Function definition for that not found. That can't be good, because I got them right here. There we go. So we don't need to put any semicolons at the end of these, because in here, they're basically already got the semicolons, and it's just wrapped into a function. Alright, so this was the window resize event. Then we can just go window close event. This will also be a public event handler. Then we'll just go So for now, this will just have nothing because all we're doing really is just closing the window. We don't need to try and save something to a space in memory because it's just going to be closed immediately. So this will still just keep track of it. All right. So now that we got these, we'll just go ahead and move on to let's do mouse events. Mouse events would be fun. All right. So same song and dance. I'll just go ahead, copy these. And as a matter of fact, we could just copy all of this and use it as a little base plate. I'll even just copy the entire thing. We'll just do mouse moved event. That's a bit odd. So I do have it included. Ah, I see the problem. We'll do namespace. And then simply just pull all this up into here. Well, I thought that was the issue. Maybe it's because it's just an Evan handler. There we go. So instead of taking mHeight, let's go ahead and just go and rename it across current project. So this will just be alright. So that's good. And alright. So now we'll just call this a mouse moved event and just do the exact same thing. And instead of it being a window resize, if we go back, we can see exactly what we have up here. This will be a mouse moved. It's mouse event. Alright, and then this will return two different values for our category. So in here, we can go, for starters, the mouse moved, or just mouse, my bad. We can see it right here. Mouse is such a weird word. And this will just also be an input event. What's wrong with you? You never had this issue before? Come on. Let's see. Oh, wait. It's supposed to be a separator right here, not a colon. Alright, and that's the mouse moved event. It basically does the exact same thing, but it will get the mouse X and mouse Y on the window. I think it'll also get it off the window at this point. What's playing? Oh, I like this song. I'm just going to do that, so that way I can see what's playing. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and get a mouse scrolled event. So we could just copy and paste this. Call it the mouse scrolled event. And so symbol this, does that only apply to these? So if I press enter, mouse event, if I apply this, okay, I like that. So it stays within the class. That'll make this a whole lot easier. Go ahead and apply that. And in here, so, and this will remain as a mouse and input category. Let's go ahead and fix that because it likes to basically just indent whenever you don't have a colon. Alright, so now we're gonna go ahead and get a mouse button event real quick. And compared to the other ones, this one's going to be a bit smaller. So instead of taking any unsigned ints, we're gonna get rid of that. We don't have to return any, well, we do have to return a string. That's my bad. So I can go ahead and just remove these and just do that. Alright, but this will have to take in an actual int for the button. But this is going to be in a protected context. Protected. So this will be under protected. And we'll just throw in public real quick, just so these don't go under protected. Okay, so under protected, so this needs to take an int. So we're going to create an int or not inline, just int. We'll just call that button. Then in here, we need to be able to get the mouse button. So we'll go inline int get mouse button. This will be a const, which will just return the button. And now we just define these. This will be a mouse button. It's actually getting the types now, I think. Maybe, maybe not. Let's see. Okay, so we don't need to return a class for the mouse button. This will still be under mouse and input. And just so this has more of a flow for it, I'm just going to move these up here. So that way we have the functions, then we basically just utilize the functions. So let's also keep that separated. Don't care where that goes. Alright. So now Alright, so now's where the fun begins. I'm just going to collapse these functions. So now we're going to create a new class, mouse button pressed event. And this will be a public mouse button event. Alright, so we don't need any private variables for this. Just go public mouse button pressed event, int for the button, buffin, and we'll just go mouse button event button. So basically what this is doing, I don't need to call that, I need to do that. But basically what this is doing, if I go ahead and reopen this, so we have an int for the button, and this is just calling this, which will get the button, and then basically just return the event. Alright, so now we need to bring that to a string, so I'll just bippity boppity and close that, paste it here. Just call it a mouse pressed event, and we only need to get the button, and we don't need to have X, and we just need to return the event category as we did before, and it'll just be the exact same thing, mouse and input. And this won't have any protected variables. Well, actually, we don't need to call this because it is a part of this function which already tells the system what it is. So instead of category, we'd need to return a type. And for that, it is just I think it's just a mouse button. I could be wrong there. It's a mouse button pressed. There we go. So now we can basically just copy and paste this because it's going to be a very similar function, just a released event. And all of this can stay the same, but this needs to be switched to released event. And so does this. Do I even have that song on here? I don't think I do. That's insane. Hold on. It is in one of my playlists. I guess I've already got it. Hold on. I'll throw this back on. Oh, I see. There we go. Alright, and that's basically it for our button events. So now we can go ahead and move on to our key events, which can include the same things. And I'll go ahead and get that part in as well so I remember, hey, I need to be a part of this namespace. Alright. Alrighty. So now do class key event. And this will be another one of these broad events like I did with the mouse event. So like mouse, where is it? Mouse button event was used for these two events. That's basically what key event is going to be used for. This will be a public event handler. Alright. So now we need to be able to get our key code. So it's going to be an inline int get key. That's not how you spell code. Get key code. And this will return our, actually type return. This will return that, and I'll make the function, make the variable right now. If I can type, that would be fantastic. Do a protected, and this will be hello keyboard, but this will be a key event, int key code. This will also do the key code and throw our key code in there. Do that. Int key code. Alright. So now we just go event class category. This will be a keyboard event and an input event. Alright, I will be right back. Enjoy the music. Whoops. Oh, abracadabra. I'm s I rolled over my headphone cord. Come on. There we go. Alright, where was I? Alright, so we've already made the key event. So now we just need to make a key pressed and key released event. Alright, so these will kind of be built in the same way as this. So I'll do that. So we'll just do key pressed event. Bruh. Is it because you were highlighted? That'd be kind of wild if that was the case. Nope. Why are you not? I got you set to the current project. I'll just... Alright. So these will take in a couple different things. Instead of just unsigned ints, this will be int key code, which we do need. And we also need an int for the repeat count. Then we just go like this. So we'll go int repeat count. Do that, that. I'll delete. So we'll do key code, and that'll be key code. Then we'll go repeat count. That's wrong. And this actually just needs to be the key event, because the key event takes in a key code, and there we go. So we don't need these, but we do need to get a int for repeat count. Let's do get. This will be const return repeat count. And instead, we'll go key pressed event. We'll go ahead and throw the key code in here. And we'll also throw the repeat count in here. And we just need to pass in our key pressed event type. And key released will be the exact same thing. Except with a couple things different. So we do not need to get a repeat count because it will not be repeating at all. And we just need to pass in the key code. We no longer need to get the repeat count, nor do we need to have this private repeat count. Then we'll just do this. Key released event. And we'll switch this to released. And that's it. So now we have key events, mouse events, application events. So now we need to have a way to actually dispatch these events with our event dispatcher. So in our events, we'll go ahead so we'll create us a template, type name T, and the template itself will be using event fn, which is a functional kind of thing, and with that we'll actually just make it equal to std function. That works, right? Well, first I gotta throw in something. We'll go bool, put the type name here, and do that. And yep, it works just fine. So this is just making a template for this. So now we can get into our public functions. This will be event dispatcher, and this will take in an event handler pointer, memory address, and we'll just call this event. So now we're just going to do m event. So before I forget, I'll go up here, do private. I'll actually do that right below. So these are just class-wide. So I'll go right up here, private. And this will just give us our event handler, pointer, memory address. We'll just go the event. So that way we have this going. Alright, so now go template, type name, and we'll just do bool dispatch. Is that how you spell dispatch? Yeah, I guess. And this will have our actual event function of type name T right here. So we'll dispatch, then throw our event name in here, which will basically just be one of these. And that way it knows what events it's actually dispatching. So now, since it's a bool, we gotta make it return. So we're gonna go if event dot handled. We're gonna go func, short for function, and this will just be a basically just telling it to do the function. And why do I have an extra one right here? So we'll go and give this the event. So if it is the event, then it'll return true. Whoops. Yeah. My brain. So these are actually supposed to be in here. I'll go like this. So now we're checking to see if the event type is currently equal to the static type, which we've defined up here to return the type. So it's basically just checking to see if it exists. Then we'll just return true. And can't forget to do that. Is my thing not working? So I mean, that was a clear error right there. You can't just do this, then return, but it's not telling me. Alright, anyways, if that's not true, then we just want to return false. Alright. So another thing, we just go out here real quick, do an inline OStream operator. Yeah, something's going on with my stuff here. Looks like it's just getting false positives. Why are you over here? Does everything have their stuff correct? So, I mean, these keep giving me errors. I'm just going to go ahead and basically just refresh Visual Studio. Let's go boom. Got everything saved. I guess I don't. Now I do. I'll just reopen it. When in doubt, restart Visual Studio. Let's go ahead and close that. So now we can see that there is, in fact, something wrong here. So let's see what's wrong. Ah, right here. There we go. So event is undefined, that's my bad. This is supposed to be our event handler. And I'll just throw that right there. Alright. Alright, so we can kind of see this in action. Let's go into here. So in here, you can basically just call let's go ahead and include it to begin with. Include events, and we just need to include the event handler. So now I could just do window. I think it's just the event handler. Well, in this case, let's go ahead and do just application event, window resize event. So now we can just go is in category, and we'll just go say application. Hold on. I see what's wrong. It's because it's going against this application. So I'm just going to do a quick little change here. And I'm actually going to put event right after that. So it knows that it's calling an event. And in here, because yeah, it looks like it's trying to use that, and I've just not realized it. So I'll just go ahead and switch that out for events. And I only need to switch certain ones. And the only one I gotta change in here is this one to event. Then instead of just doing application, I'll just do application event. There we go. So if it is in that category, we want to basically just out. So let's go ahead and briefly include our core. Oh wait, that's in log. So that should be able to log it just fine. See what decided to error out, and it looks like it's our sandbox. So just go into here, build this to make sure that it is the sandbox. No, it's this. Even better. So let's see the error. Right here in our event handler. What did I do wrong? Hold on. Let's go ahead and rebuild. Go Control F7. Is there a... Guess not. Alright, so let's see what errored out this time. So this is just running through all of that. So pretty sure it just doesn't like me putting in E. These are just warnings. There we go. Uh, so it looks like it's breaking right here. Whoops. Okay, so it's just not going to build because of it. And just to make sure, I'll just put that in quotes. And it succeeded. So, just doesn't like compiling these, which is a little disappointing. So, if we go into here and enter a resize event, so this would be in our application events. So it's supposed to return this. Return string stream of that. So that should actually be returning this. So, let's see if I did that wrong. So it is pushing these correctly, and it is returning the string. Okay, so I had to print it to a string immediately. So it's weird that it makes me do that. Because you would expect this to automatically just throw it into a string, but I guess not. But for all I know, they could have updated how SPD log works to where that they can't just take that. So I don't care. As long as it works, then it works. Also, I figured out that Y and Z does not look too grand on that. I'm just going to take that out and rerun this. Yeah, I like that a bit better. And I'll go back to the entry point real quick. Should be core. And I'm just going to get rid of these. And I'm going to go back into here. So I think we should generalize these a little bit. Let's make these set up as that. So now it's just like trace. And I kind of like that. So now we can just go ahead and check to see if it's actually showing up as just an application event, which it should be. So we're just going to throw in another if statement. And we'll go input event. So now if I run this, it should only show up once. Yep. So now I can just go ahead and get rid of these. And I think that entry point still has something in it that's doing all that. Let's see. No, no, no. That would be in here. I'll go ahead and just take that out of the constructor. All right. So, I don't, to be honest, being completely honest, I don't like putting CE. Like, I know that it's supposed to be for CAD engine, but we're using the CAD engine. So, why not just do that and just call it like debug. D debug. And for this, I can just delete this, maybe keep it as core. So debug being the client release macros, while these being the cores. So let's go ahead and throw in an ifdef. So there should actually be a macro already defined. So I'll go into here. So if I go into, I think it's somewhere. So outputs, precompiled, preprocessors. So if I set it to debug, we can see that we have CE debug, and this, I didn't show it yet, but if I go into my files, go into the CAD engine itself, I have a pre-make file that basically just generates all of this, and we have 3 different configurations, and in here we have 3 different filters, and these are for the configurations, and they will have their own definitions. So what's going on? What was I gonna edit in here? So if I do that, is that what's, yeah. So I can go back into here. So do ifdef ce debug, then I'll go else, then endif. So now if I switch over to, say, distribution, it'll go for these ones. And if I switch into debug, it'll go for these. So so I know that in debug we want to use these over this, but probably be worth it to keep this and instead doing else if, or is it elif? It is. So I do need to actually call endif, then elif, we want to go ce release, and I actually need to delete that. There we go. So if it's release, then basically we can just throw these back into here, but delete this. So that way these just equal nothing. Alright. So, and then these will, of course, equal whatever they are equal to. So if I go into release, it'll use these ones over it. So say if we're in release, let's see, I'll go into here. Now if I do, alright. So now if I just call our core, say, trace, and throw something in here, say, test, and then do our debug trace. And now if I hit F5, we'll see that only one comes out and it's the application. And if I switch this over to debug instead, see that it's compiling all this crap now. We can see that both the engine and the application send the test. So that's basically what it will do. And notice how the release actually loaded a whole lot quicker than our debug. And it's for that reason anyways. It'll strip away all the like full-on debug functions, but it will still technically be a debug build. We want dist, which will be our distribution build, the build that we distribute, to have none of that. Maybe in distribution, we can just call, we can make a function to do debug, and that will just return it as, say, info. So I'm pretty sure info is like a green color. I might be wrong, but I'll just call this one here. So if I do, not CE, so I'll do core info. So yeah, that shows up as green. So I might make the info channel be like what distribution builds can actually debug with. So I'll go into here, do elif we'll want to put all of these in there, but make all of these actually empty, and then throw in an extra one, just define, let's see, I'm kind of torn between uppercase and lowercase if it's a distribution build, because I don't want people to have to go debug like this. I'd prefer it to just be debug, and we'll just throw this. That's the wrong button. Thank you. And we'll just do this. So now if I switch over to distribution, we can see that the only thing that has stuff is this. But the only downside to doing this is I now need to define it in these. So I might not. I might just make them all do nothing and have a set of functions just for the distribution that will actually let them debug in that case. Another thing, I like that this actually uses GitHub on here too. We can see the repository that I'm using and the other repositories. If I just click that, it opens it directly. Then I can just go straight back. I like that. Like you can see that it's loading right here. Alright, so anyways, we're gonna get into precompiled headers. I'll switch this back over to debug. Alright, so under source, gonna create a new file, and we'll just do CE PCH for CatEngine precompiled header, and we'll just do .h. So another thing that we need is an actual CPP file for it, and it has to be the same name, CE PCH.cpp, and this needs to include CE PCH.h. Alright, so we're going to start out with if def CE win not Windows platform Windows. We'll just include windows.h. We'll do endif. Alright, so we're just going to include the basic stuff in here. So we'll include IOStream, memory, utility, algorithm, functional, string, string stream, and this is going to be for future stuff, but vector, unordered, map, and unordered set. Oh wait, you need to be stream. Alright, alright, so now we're just going to go into each of these and just remove any of the ones that I've included. So we can see that these don't need it. This does include memory. So I'll go ahead and remove that. Let's use this string stream. A bunch of these use string stream and functional. Alright, so that's all we had them for. So now we just grab this include directory, well, include, and just go into here, properties, let's see, precompiled header, and then we'll just go ce pch dot h, set this to use, apply, okay. So now, if I go into here, I actually don't even need IOStream in here. This is just a string variable. So we'll just go very first one, include, Alright, so what I needed to do was that, generate the files, press that, do this, I'll ignore, I'll refresh it, go into here, here, let me not save that and rebuild it. There we go. Then I'll just reopen the solution. There we go, and we can see, actually no, hold on. So now if I go into here, precompiled header, got that. So I'll just go into my event handler, and this will include CEPCH. That should be there. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, we need to actually include this. So, if I go into here, very first one that we need to include, there we go. We can see that that's working now. I don't need to call it in here. Didn't mean to do that. So, application, this actually doesn't need to be called in here, but it does need to be called in here right before we do that. So we do that. We can see that it's working now. Doesn't like it, but it also likes it. So that's always great. I'll just do an F7 on it. Not that, this build. Let's see. Go into, can you not? So it's not able to pick up on this. Cannot open source file. CEPCH.h. So this is supposed to be creating and using. See, it doesn't know if it wants to be okay or not okay. Is it doing this in my log? It is. So maybe not in here, maybe just in the CPP file. Wait a second. If I go into if I go into here, go under general. Ah, I'm an idiot. That's the solution. I just need to throw the source in here. So now if I go back into here, we should see that that's working just fine. And then in here, we also just include. There we go, and that should also fix all of these. And I do actually just want to add this to the header file. Just do that. Should be working just fine. Let me go ahead and quickly build this. Still failed. So it actually looks for it in the header file, in the CPP file. So all my efforts are still in vain. Let's do that. And do the same for log. Oh, I guess I just skipped over log anyways. Alright, so now that built successfully. This built successfully. And we can go ahead and just make sure that it's working proper. So now this works just fine. And closing that, yeah. Alright, here's where the fun begins. So, let me go ahead and reopen this real quick. So, as I shown before, this, not properties, let's go into the folder. So we can see that in the vendors, we actually have these just set in the include file. And so, and that's how we got it to run, because we are statically linking them to our CPP file, or our executable here. So we're basically going to do the exact same thing, but instead of having them as just vendors, we're going to have them set up as actual projects. Alright, so we're going to go on a little bit of a detour real quick. Well, I say detour, but it's not really a detour because we need to get here. So glfw, we're going to go to the GitHub, and we're basically going to fork it. I've already got an existing fork, so we're just going to go into here, and I'm just going to delete that fork real quick, because if we check, I am currently 141 commits behind. Let's actually just sync. Update branch. There we go. Now I am branch is 5 commits ahead of the master branch. Okay, and that's exactly what I want. So now, got us a pre-make file, and this is one that I made myself. So this should work just fine. Just 1 second. Alright. Mm. Alright, we are going to change a couple things, of course. I could go ahead and edit the file. So this is for multi-threading. I'm not going to do that just yet. So we still need to have that native here. If I actually go into here, go back into here. Now if I go into vendors, that's glad. We can see that we're basically also including these two files. It's going to be the .h file and the native file. And these are just the other files that will be created once we build it. And I've also got Linux set up on here too. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is go ahead, go into GLFW, well not GLFW, but go into here and in vendor, my bad, we're going to go into here, go into vendors, and I'm just going to CMD. So now I'm going to get submodule add, and then we're just going to go so slash, I think this is just glfw, we'll do .get, and we'll just go glfw for the file that I want it to go into. Then I'll just press enter, and this should automatically, yep, add it to our get modules. Now we have glfw on here, and we need the pre-make file, not for how I do it with remaking these. I'm not going to put one of these in there. I'm going to utilize this pre-make file to work with our other pre-make file. So now I'm just going to throw this in here, set this off to the side. Alright, alright, so this is just including glfw and its include path. So before I forget, we also need to throw in the source right here. Just gonna go like that. And make sure that we put a comma after each of these. And we're also going to go include directories dot glfw. So now we're going to add a new tab in here, and we'll just call this links. We got the exact same thing down below for our actual linker. So this one will simply just link glfw and open gl32.lib. So this will statically link the project glfw, and it will also link the library of OpenGL. Alright, so now all I've got to do is go back into here and just run this. We can see that it's generated the vendors, GLFW projects, and generated the filters and all that. So now if I go into here, hit reload, we should see GLFW right here. Then it's already loaded. So now, let me hit that. If I just hit build, let it build all of these, we can see that it works. Build this, we can see that that works. Build that, works just fine. Alright, so I can go ahead and just close this. And now in source, actually not in source, we want to go create a new folder. We'll call this platform. Alright, so in the source, we will just make this out here. Window dot h. So of course we need to include the precompiled header first. Alright, here comes all the fun stuff. Namespace, cat engine. Alright, so to start out with, we need to make a struct window props, and that's basically just the stuff up here and like little details about it. So in here we'll have an std standard string, that'll just be the title. We'll have an unsigned int, and that'll be the width and height. So now we can make the actual Windows props. And this is like a little function using this. So we can just do a standard string memory address pointer, and this will just be title. And the title will just equal our engine name, do cat engine, it's supposed to be a const, that's my bad. Then unsigned int, and so basically we're just setting the window size to good 1280. Width, and that'll equal 1280. Unsigned int height, which will be equal to 720. I'll go ahead and turn on word wrap real quick. I've also got to figure out that function for it. Word wrap EW. Alright, that works. So now in here, we're just going to go title, title, width will be width, height, height. Alright, and expected that. Let's go ahead and just throw this down here. Let's see. Why are you explicit type missing? What do you mean? It's right there. Okay, I see the problem. It assumes that it's int for some unknown reason. Like even if I throw it like that. I'll go ahead and just do this. Oh, I threw in an extra S. Well, I'm glad that it was so specific about what the problem was. Okay. So now we just go class, window, just make that a capital W for sanity's sake. Public, using event callback fn function, and that will just equal standard function void event, and that needs to be event handler. I can't spell. There we go. So we'll get a virtual window destructor. Virtual void on update. That equals 0 by default. So pretty sure that's the same as making it equal to default. But looks like virtual voids cannot equal default. Is that correct? No. Whatever. So 0. So now we're going to get the width and height, unsigned int, get width const, and that's just 0. This song is wild. Alright, so we're setting the event callback system to take in this kind of parameter, so the event callback. So this will just take in a void event handler, and this will just be registered as callback. And we're setting the vsync here, and we're going to check to see if vsync is active. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. So we're checking for the vsync if it's active or not. Alright, so now we are going to create a window. So this will be a static window pointer, just called create. And it'll take in the window props memory address. We'll go props, and that will equal window props. We could just do that, and that's that. So if we look at this, we can see that it's saying that width is uninitialized. Always initialize a member variable. So that's why. I was wondering what was going on there. So that should fix it. There we go. So now we are going to actually set this up. So we can see that function for create not found. Okay. So the reason why this is saying that it doesn't have it, it's because we got to implement it per platform. Alright, so now in our platform files, we'll just add a class, making it the Windows window. So basically going to inherit from the window class that we have made before right here. And this one's dedicated just for Windows at the moment. And you can see that it automatically includes the header file. So before I go anywhere with this, I need to go namespace. Alright, and I need to make this a public window class. So this needs to include our actual window file. And it's not going to be windows.h. and I don't have it, which is fine. Just do window.h. It's going to be in cat engine. There we go. So now we're going to go make public. So let's start with our private variables first. So we'll go private virtual void init. This will go const windows window props. So this will initialize that, and we'll go virtual void shutdown. Why are you capitalized? All right. So now I need to actually include glfw and glfw.h. So now this needs to be a glfw window pointer. This will just be called window, and struct window data. So let's get into the public real quick. Let's get all out there. All right, so now is where we're going to create a couple functions. Windows window. This will take in a const window props, memory pointer to props. Make a virtual destructor. So on update. And this will just be an override. So I could basically just take these, paste them here, and just set these to override, and return our and it'll return our data width and height, and we still got to set these up, but I will here in a second. So I'll go inline void set event callback. This will be a const event callback function callback override So now we're going to get the vsync real quick. Not const. Do override bool enabled. Bool set that to override. Alright, there we go. And these, of course, need semicolons. So now I'll just highlight all of this, create some definitions off in here. Ah, so I should namespace do this. There we go. So in here, this is also where we will call that create function. So we'll go right here. So this will be our window pointer, window create const window props. We'll do that. All right. So this right here will create I mean, not create, return new Windows window with props. So in here, we're basically just going to create all of this in our init function. So we'll just go init props. I don't know why it's saying this. All right, so let's work on init real quick. So this will take the data that we fed it before and just apply it. Then we can just do this. Am I not including source? No, I am. It's just that I need to do that. All right. I don't know why I keep going for core. This is in log. So now we're just going to initialize glfw, same way that we did it for our other project, but instead we're going to be using the static bool to determine if it's enabled or not. So we're going to do int success w init. So I do actually need a core assert. Real easy to make. I'll go into log.h. There we go. So I'll just go into here, define core assert. And we can actually just put X. Or probably just that. Forget what it's called. I've actually made it in here. If I go core, utils, log, maybe the H. Yep. Oh, I was real close. It's a debug break. So I do want to check to see if the assert works before I full on initialize it. Oh, wait, I'm an idiot. So if I go back into log.h, oh, no, I didn't. I thought I might have just done that. mean, maybe this? Hmm? Hmm. Oh yeah? Nice. Maybe I'm thinking about this too hard. Do that. There we go. And just to make sure it's actually working, and that'll break it on that line, and if I check, it doesn't print a single thing. Bruh. Okay, so maybe not that. Maybe it's not a debug break that I should use. If I go back into here, do this. So maybe if it's this case, we do that. So that way we still utilize both aspects of a variable and a string. There we go. So now that'll print out an error if something's not initialized, and it won't like full stop my system. Alright, I'll be right back. Okay, I just had a brain fart. What if after this we call and don't put a semicolon there. Now if I hit F5 and then check the terminal, we can see the error and it breaks on the line. That's exactly what we want. So now in here, so now basically what we're going to be doing is kind of like how we did it before. We're going to set the window context to equal glfw, create window, and we're going to convert these to ints. I need to int props dot width. Can you stop doing that, please? We'll set this to height, and we'll just set these last two to be null pointers. Now we just need to make the context current, so then we'll just throw in the window and should work right out the gate. And then we need to set the window pointer. And we'll just set vsync to be true. So we'll set this to the shutdown to destroy the window. And in our destructor, we'll just call that. So on update, we want to call glfw poll events. Now that isn't something that I actually like set up myself. If you remember in my basic engine, that one was just thrown at the top of this, if I could find it. Okay, I moved it to the bottom, but this is basically it right here. So this was in the example document, so I never technically had to write it, but we're writing it in here, and we're also swapping the buffers in here. Swap buffers. And throwing in the window context. So now for the vsync, if enabled, then we'll set glfw set interval set it's swap interval will be set to 1, and we'll just do else glfw swap interval will be set to 0. It's getting a little late. I'll finish this up and then end off the stream. Well, I guess I could also just dot 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 and throw this in there. And we've also got to set the vsync to equal whatever enabled is. And this needs to return the vsync itself. Alright, so we're going to make a private standard unique that's an initialized copy unique pointer that's part doesn't even exist pointer window to be our window context, and I don't know what is up with this, but it keeps fluctuating between that. So I'm just going to make sure to include window dot h, and then I can actually include that. And I shouldn't have to include any sort of event handling. Okay, so back into here, we can just go into here, do window equals window create, and this is where we can throw in the properties if we really wanted to, but we're not gonna do that. And we have to make it a unique pointer. There we go. So we also need to get a boolean for if it's running. So now what we're going to do is go into here, while running, we're going to do m window call onUpdate, which if you remember, onUpdate just grabs the pull events and the swap buffer, something that needs to be called every frame. So now I'll just build it, make sure it actually builds. If it doesn't, I'm going to be pretty upset. Alright, works. And if I hit run, uh-oh, could not load GLFW. Let's see what this is. This is true. That's true. So I wonder why it called the debug. So maybe it's because I set it up wrong. Because it did come back as true. If I come back into here and then actually throw curly brackets around this, and then rebuild it, I forgot that this, get off my screen, this needs to actually have that since it's now in the curly brackets. So now if I hit F7, should build correctly. And as we can see, it built correctly. If I do this, it now actually opens the window to 1280 by 720. It doesn't register any window resize events. And it doesn't register the window close. I probably have to close that. But I'll just hit that. See that it did all of that. Alright, so now that I got GLFW working,